committee to order, but I think the first order of business is a presentation by our good friends at PNC.
Yes. And good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Hello.
Good to see you all. I'm going to go ahead and get started at page 10 of the material. And you'll have a book or presentation in front of you. And for those of you that may not have heard, there's a thing called the Magnificent Seven. So the markets have been led, in fact, by that. And on page 10, you'll notice on the bottom right-hand corner of this page, the Magnificent Seven were up 91% in 2023. The NASDAQ, or the Qs as they're known, was up 45%. The S&P 500 index was up 26.3%. And the equal weight S&P index was about half that at 13.9%, which really just shows you how important those Magnificent Seven stocks are within the S&P 500. So large cap certainly led, but I thought that was an interesting page to start with. That we're hearing a lot about artificial intelligence and these big 7 companies, and it is true that they are dominating the market right now, and it continues to be the case for the early start of 2024.
In fact, they were responsible for the dip.
Yes. What goes up must inevitably come down, right? And so the next thing I'll do is I'll go very quickly to page 14 now in the material. And it's a very colorful chart. These are very different asset classes. Each one of these colors depicts a different asset class, from large cap to mid cap to small cap to fixed income, etc. And I just only point this out because last year in 2022, you'll notice at that midpoint, everything is underneath that line. So all those boxes on the next to last column on the right are beneath the line. That means we had a negative year. So in 2022, both equities and fixed income were down double-digit negatives. We're glad to report, however, that in 2023, it's quite the opposite, that everything is above the line. And as was just mentioned, equities had a really, really strong year with double-digit rates of returns pretty much across the board. And on the following page, 15 and 16, just breaks down the indices further and gives you short and long-term performances. So if you're looking at your own portfolio and want to know how you did, this will tell you how you did compared to large caps, small caps, international, emerging markets, and the rest of all the various asset classes. And then fast forward through to, I go right past the investment policy statement, which in talking with Carrie, it doesn't seem there's any change in goals and objectives for the time being. So I think we still have the flexibility we need to meet your goals and objectives. So I will go right to the asset allocation page, which is on page 33. So several pages forward now, we're into the third tab. And this would be asset allocation on page 33. And this was a snapshot taken at the end of 2023 on December 31st. And what you're going to notice is the actual asset allocation for the endowment portfolio is very close to the targets. So we've been navigating and doing some prudent risk management, and as equities have gotten up to above target, we've actually been trimming and decreasing equities back to the target of 65%. That continues to be the case. We'll continue to do that as the markets continue to, go up and down, but we're going to be mindful of that and try to take some gains and profits when we can, when the market is up, and rebalance accordingly. At the early part of January, what is not depicted here is we did have a withdrawal in January 2 of 2024, this year, of about $738,000. So cash has decreased to about $828,000. So it's not quite as significant a cash position as what we had at year end. So that's another thing that we replenish from time to time to make sure that we can meet the spending distribution that you have here. If there's any questions or comments, please feel free to let me know. And the last page I'll touch upon very quickly would be page 39. And on page 39 is the actual report card for the endowment funds, which you'll notice this is, again, taken through the end of 2023. And you'll notice short and long-term performance. So at the top of the middle of the page, you see total portfolio net. So that's the endowment portfolio net of all expenditures. So all costs have been taken out. This would be on page 39. And so for the fourth quarter of 2023, the endowment portfolio had a return of almost 10% in just the last 3 months of 2023. For the calendar year of 2023, the endowment portfolio had a return of 16.2% net of all costs. And what you'll notice is compared to your policy benchmark, we have outperformed, or the endowment portfolio has outperformed over all periods for the quarter, for the 1, 3, 5, and 10 years. So it's good outperformance, always good outperformance, especially when it's net of all costs and expenditures. That's what you want to do, is beat the benchmark, and we've been able to do that. Rather than have me continue to talk up here, what I'd like to do is address any comments or questions that anyone has at this time. Or there's anything else that you'd like me to cover?
Just quickly, if you had to guess, how much has the benchmark changed in the 10 years?
It's changed. It changes usually in tandem with the investment policy statement.
Okay.
So I think that was maybe.
Okay, so that's what I was thinking. It's, all right. That's fine. That's the answer I was looking. I wanted
Yeah.
to make sure that that's what we were.
Right. And so Carrie and I talked a little earlier about the investment policy statement, and it gives us the flexibility to meet the goals and objectives that the endowment portfolio has for right now. So we didn't feel that there's a need right now to make any changes, and thus the benchmark would not change.
And you're comfortable with the cash position we have in this quarter at this point?
Yeah, right now the cash is down to about 828, so almost 3% of the endowment portfolio. We'll replenish that, again, we'll take profits, we'll take gains out of the equities, decrease that to targets, and then we'll go to, cash and fixed income both. So we're comfortable. Cash is paying us 5.25%. So there's no risk to hold that cash at 5.25%. So that's what we don't mind having, right now about 3% or even up to 5%, and cash is not a bad thing. And one last thing, maybe just a comment I should have made a little earlier, is just that, our thoughts have changed, like many, that everyone was calling for a recession. You think back a year and a half ago, people were talking about a recession. We were still talking about a recession possibly this summer. And now that's off the table. So our official forecast at PNC is that we will have a so-called soft landing. So no recession.
Soft what?
A soft landing.
Oh,
Yeah, so meaning no recession, but we do think that earnings are still relatively high and have not come down or been, revised accordingly. We think that there's still room for that to happen. We think it has to happen. So we think we're in this environment where we're going to have decelerating inflation, still higher interest rates, decreasing than many would like. So we see this environment, it's going to be challenging, a little bit more challenging than maybe last year. So again, we don't see a recession any longer based upon the new tea leaves and all the information that comes out. So hopefully that holds. It's just, again, a slower growth environment, and maybe not as robust equity markets as what we saw last year. Again, with a little more challenges with all the changes with the Fed forecast and all the professionals out there changing their own forecast, like us, that we're in a camp of mild recession, now at a soft landing, no recession is what that really means.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Glenn.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
You don't have to stay for the rest of the meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Glenn's the next. He's done this more than enough. He knows the deal.
Thanks again, Glenn. Appreciate it.
Welcome. My pleasure.
First is item on the Finance Committee is a resolution accepting gifts for the month of January. Nothing major to look at, so I move that to the full board on Thursday.
Second.
Ms. Shakarian,
yes.
Mr. Corrigan,
Yes.
Mr. Parker.
Yes.
Exhibit 2 is a resolution amending the resolution to accept a grant from United Way for the Family Space Program. And basically, it's an increase in the grant, correct?
Back in December, the board accepted the grant in the amount of just over $23,000, but we had some miscommunication with United Way, and they really intended to grant us $138,215.40. But we had a carry forward from 2023 from last year's grant of just over $39,000. So they really intended to grant us $98,809.58 for the contract year of 2024 to continue the family space programming.
And how many of our employees are involved in Family Space, if we had to guess?
So we have a family engagement specialist, Sandy Moss.
Could you speak a little bit
Oh, I'm
louder?
sorry.
Or in the microphone?
Oh, I'm
is fine.
sorry. So we have a family engagement specialist, which is Sandy Moss. She really leads and helps with that work. And then we also have a family space assistant. That's the reason why we got extra money so that we can hire a full-time family space assistant. So we have 2 staff that's dedicated to family space throughout this year.
Very
Yeah.
cool.
You might want to explain where they are.
Who
So,
besides?
so family space is in 2 of our locations. So we have one at Hub, and that's where Keely, that's our family space assistant. She's awesome. She's at Hub, and then Sandy supports the Carnegie West family space. So yeah, it's going really, really well. Numbers are going up. United Way is extremely happy with what's going on. We host plethora of events for the community to ensure that we support them, wrap around them. And so the funding, the extra funding that we got, and I thank Carrie and Brian for their support, is really going to help us deepen our work and our impact in those 2 communities with that program.
Could you say the name again of the person at Huff?
Yes, the person at Hub is Keely Schultz. She's our family space assistant.
What's her first name?
Keely,
Oh, how do you spell that?
Keeley.
Oh, thank you.
Yes,
I
no
guess I didn't
problem.
know her.
No problem. Yes.
Is this because United Way had new designated funds, or what's the context of the increase?
So what happened was we had, prior to me coming on board, we had 2 part-time positions
Okay.
for family space assistants. Sandy was still the support person from CPL, who was already a part of our work. And so they had 2 part-time, but we couldn't keep those 2 part-time. And the ways in which we needed to truly wrap around our families, we needed someone that was full-time and that was designated. And so I went back, as soon as I got on, I don't even think I had started yet. I had went and I said, we really, really need a full-time position. Number one, to ensure that we sustain this person and that they have buy-in, but so that we have the right people in the right places for our families. And they agreed and they gave us the support that we needed to ensure that we could do that. And that is how we got Keely, and she's amazing. She comes
You
with
are
lot
a
of
good
background.
advocate.
Oh, of
Thanks
course,
for
I'm always
fighting
going to
for-
advocate.
Thanks for fighting for this.
Oh, no problem. Yes, and
Yeah, I
it's
see
been great.
Sandy all the time.
Yes, it's going well. And so it's just, and then we, now, like for instance, if someone's off, we have now coverage in both. And now we're able to operate at 12 hours. We weren't operating at 12 hours last year. We were only operating at 6 hours per location. So now we're meeting the grant obligation and operating at the time that need to be to support our families and meet their needs. And so they met us there. We were able to do it.
Love it.
Great.
Yes, no problem.
So is this something that we could come back next year and ask to renew?
Of course, I
I'm
hope
just
so.
making sure,
Yes, I
yes.
hope so. That's our goal.
No harm.
Yes.
Great job.
So
Thank you
related
so
to our
much.
strategic plan, it's very cool.
Yes,
Yes.
it's amazing. It's amazing. And we're seeing new families and they're enjoying it.
Awesome.
So I'm
Thank
excited.
you.
Thank you.
Second.
Second.
Ms. Shakarian,
Yes.
Mr. Corrigan,
Yes.
and Mr. Parker.
Yes. Exhibit 3, a resolution accept a grant from the Cleveland Public Library Foundation to support Man Up, CLE, and Girl Power programs.
Going on today.
Yes. And the grant is to sponsor with a grant of $10,000 made to the Cleveland Public Library Foundation from Huntington.
Yes, it's from Huntington Bank. It's for the sponsorship for the Man Up programs and the Girl Power programs. And I believe this is Huntington's intention to build pipeline, and so to start younger. And so they're the sponsor of Man Up and Girl Power today.
And you say start younger, meaning how young?
I don't know the actual age designation
11.
for, is it 11 to 14 or
11 to
11 to 17? 11 to 17.
I have a question. Do you mind? The director took me down there and there's a lot of positive energy and good things going on. What schools are participating in this? Do you know that?
So I think the
I
only
get the
person
money,
that knows
but-
is Erica.
Yeah.
Erica has a whole bunch of the schools and she
That's
is.
okay. It's, no,
Yeah.
I was just wondering, because it was a lot of good positive energy
Yeah.
and things that were going on over
You
there.
said 250 people there today, right?
What?
Yeah,
They
there's
say
250
250
kids.
Yeah, I thought you said 50. No, there's a couple
No,
hundred
250.
there. Yeah. It's wonderful.
Yeah, they're doing just a wonderful job. And Erica's, so every young person gets one of these shirts sponsored by Huntington Bank. I don't know if you can see. And so we're going to leave them back here for you guys to pick which ones you want here and find the size for you. but it is,
Thank you.
Erica would have been here to explain everything, but she is running
a little
around
busy.
crazy trying to make sure that everything stays in control. Yeah, so
Oh, wonderful,
So
wonderful.
you were saying that that they want to go further down the pipeline from 11 to 17. What ages are they now? Are they now only older?
No, that's the ages now.
Oh, that is the ages. now.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Move that the resolution, Exhibit 3, go to the full board for approval on Thursday.
Second. Ms. Shakarian.
Yes.
Mr. Corrigan.
Yes.
And Mr. Parker.
yes.
Exhibit 4 is a resolution to accept a pass-through grant from the Cleveland Public Library Foundation for continuation of the barbershop books program from the Urban Libraries Council. And we started this in '23, and it's a continuing program. And Urban Libraries Council is granting $7,500, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
I move this go to the full board.
If there are any questions, I can answer it, but this is really about giving young boys of color access to books as they wait for their haircuts. And they not only can read the books, but they can take one. And so we replenish them with the funding, we build shelving for it. My colleague, Erica Marks, can talk more about the program, but it's really an access and a reading literacy initiative, so much so that they wanted to continue the funding with us this year.
Is Waverly Willis involved
Yes,
with
he
this?
is.
Okay.
Yes. You gave me his card.
Yeah.
He's wonderful.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
amazing.
I move Exhibit 4 go to the full board on Thursday.
Second. Ms. Shakarian.
Yes.
Mr. Corrigan.
Yes.
And Mr. Parker.
Exhibit 5 is a resolution to accept pass-through grant from the Cleveland Public Library Foundation for tech revitalization at Best Buy Teen Tech Center from the Best Buy Foundation and Clubhouse Network. This is a continuing program as well, and the grant is the same as last year, I think, correct? I move this go to the full board for approval on Thursday. Those who haven't seen the Teen Tech Center should get there.
It's not only that, they keep renewing it and keep updating, which I think is wonderful.
Yeah, so I mean, every time I go
They
back,
haven't
there's
just
something else.
stopped. They haven't, how many years is this in the making now?
2018 is when he started.
Yeah.
I think that's awesome. Mhm.
Second. Ms. Shakarian.
Yes.
Mr. Corrigan.
Yes.
And Mr. Parker.
Exhibit 6 is a resolution to ratify the agreement for purchase of natural gas. With the work progressing in New Rockport branch, we asked North Energy Consulting to obtain best fixed rates from Infinite and provided a quote that is acceptable to us. And I don't know if there's anything John wants to say. Is it John or who would
It'd be
comment on it?
Carrie.
Oh, Carrie, is there something to comment on?
We entered into an agreement with Infinite Energy back in June of 2022, and it was a 57-month agreement. It expires at the end of August, and at that time, New Rockport wasn't part of it. So this is just adding the New Rockport branch into our agreement for 41-month term to end with our other branches in August of 2027.
Move its approval and go to the full board on Thursday.
Ms. Shakarian.
Yes.
Mr. Corrigan.
Yes.
And Mr. Parker. Yes.
Exhibit 7 is a resolution amending the master planning agreement with Bioloski and Partners, and it's obviously for the main library issues, correct?
This is for Group 2 of the facilities master plan.
Oh, I'm sorry, okay.
So it will be the branch libraries that weren't addressed under Group 1, they'll be under Group 2. And so as the board knows, it's a 10-year capital program, but from a budgetary perspective, it's sequential 5-year programs. We're in year 5 of Group 1. And so some changes have happened over time. The acceleration of the Glendale project due to the Mandel grants, the holding back of the Sterling project due to the CMHA neighborhood planning. And so the intent of this is to bring Bioloski back on board to revalidate the scope, sequence, and schedule of all the Group 2 projects, and then probably most importantly, to give us a reality check on the cost estimating that was done in 2019, which we've seen has been. And so the costs were escalated out to the anticipated construction year, and I can say we're pretty much on schedule. But the discount factor of 3% didn't match the reality of inflation. So we're going to find out what these projects really cost.
Wow.
Move approval and go to the full board on Thursday.
Second. Ms. Shakarian.
Yes.
Mr. Corrigan.
Yes.
And Mr. Parker?
Yes.
Exhibit 8 is a resolution amending the project budget for the new MLK branch
Okay.
and the 8th Amendment. And how far are we off of percentage-wise at this point?
Well, so speaking of cost increases, MLK, I'll start with the good news. We're over 60% construction. We had a great staff tour with the MLK branch team.
Yeah.
Really? Oh, good.
So
That must have been exciting for the staff.
and I know some of you were able to see it back in December whenever we did the board tour. So the project is coming along, and for those of you who've been on Euclid, you can see the vertical construction is nearly complete. I was on site this morning, and the lofts will top out next month. Of course, the library, it's all been interior work. The board already approved the 8th Amendment to the Jonathan Kurtz design amendment, but we didn't, at the time you approved that in December, we didn't ask for the budget increase. So we kind of borrowed that from within the project. So now we're back to ask for the budget increase as well as to deal with the construction contingency. So there's kind of a laundry list of items, and as Carrie always does, she includes it's report E, all of the contingency spending on the project. So I won't give the litany of every change order we faced on the project over the last year and a half now. But I kind of gave a sampling of some of the larger cost drivers, additional interior lighting, security system augmentation, electrical and data floor box revisions, projector screen revisions, and the capacity to address unforeseen future conditions. So we know we're about 2/3 of the way through construction. The contingency pot for the project is depleted. So the extra $370,000, the intent is to get that to the finish line in terms of construction change orders.
And my rough calculation is that at that stage, we'll be about 5% over budget.
Yeah, I think I calculated 4.8 or 4.9. I got it on the back of an envelope somewhere. But yeah.
Okay.
So how much did we get out of giving them our old building? I mean, we
Well,
were hoping that there would be some coverage from their side.
And that's not reflected. So I should point out that Exhibit A attached to this resolution shows an amended project budget, if approved, of $20.946 million.
Yeah.
That is the true total cost of the project.
I see
However, there's a $5.2 million sale of our current MLK property to the developer. And so the library's outlay on the project is at $20.946 million less $5.2 million. And of course, they get our property.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Move that the full board receive and approve Exhibit 8.
Second?
Ms. Shakarian?
Yes.
Mr. Parker?
Yes.
And Mr. Parker?
Yes.
Exhibit 9 is a resolution authorizing the agreement for relocation of the Lewis Stokes Wing Break Room. And the estimated construction cost was $1,123,576. And the maximum value contract is for $1.348 million. And we received the sealed bids, and this is to award the project, correct?
It is. The bid opening was initially projected for last week, so our goal was to bring the actual bids to board. Due to some amendments that had to be issued on the project and our revised code stipulating when a bid opening can be after amendments are issued, we had to push the bid opening to yesterday. So this resolution took the library's cost estimate for the work, increased it by 20%, which is the maximum allowable that ORC allows us to accept the bid, and ask for your approval to award within that. So subsequently, we opened bids yesterday. It was too late to post in the resolution, but I can tell you that the apparent low bids, we had a great turnout, 6 bids, all below the library's estimated cost of the work. We're going to do scope reviews with the 3 low bidders this week, and we'll be back to board next month to ratify the contract. But it does appear we're in good shape to be able to award a contract for several $100,000 below the library's estimated cost of work.
Great.
Did all those attend the walkthrough that you hosted? Because this is like, you haven't had that same process recently. And I was just curious, sort of post-COVID, the interest that they showed and.
We had better turnout at bid opening than we did in the walkthrough.
Oh,
We
really?
had a few firms show up for the walkthrough, but some of them were subcontractors. So I was a little, my project manager and I were sitting just in these 2 seats yesterday. We were a little nervous we were going to get a good turnout. And then Carrie was sitting right here where the director is, and the envelopes started piling up. So 6 bids, all
Good.
below our estimate and all within about 20% of each other, to me was very successful.
Oh, yeah.
I have a question, just downstairs, I know it's gonna be in May. There's no asbestos over there, is there?
No, we don't think so. We've got some hazardous materials tests for the library. So we're gonna retest the pipe insulation there before we start construction, but our records.
Because I know, with the building that old,
Mhm.
you have to be very careful, and I'm just hoping, because that could really turn everything
Yeah,
around.
good question, Maritza.
Huh?
It can, you're right.
Yeah.
So, but nothing's been done to test it?
We do have old test reports, which we went through before. We
Okay.
developed our
No, I'm
design
just
document.
asking.
We are gonna retest before we break ground on it.
Okay.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that.
We have had issues in the past.
Yeah, but when this building was being built, we already knew what those issues were, and we were pretty hardcore with
Do you
that.
remember, Tom?
Yeah.
I'm sure you do.
We were pretty tough on the pipe covers and the others at the time, so I would be surprised if we had a problem.
Yeah,
So
okay. Thanks.
the only question I had is that, I don't know if the staff can appreciate how much construction costs have gone up, but I remember the cost of what we did before was a little less than $500,000. So it's doubled the cost of what it takes to build a decent lunchroom. It's
Well,
doubled.
I should mention, the project was kicked off as a break room because Michael Ruffing Site Density Storage is going to displace the current.
The ninth
ground
floor,
floor,
yeah.
And so this is where it came up. But subsequent to that, we did incorporate the catering preparation kitchen into the project.
Right.
So it is $1 million and it is a break room project, but it's not just $1 million break room. There's a catering kitchen that's going to be included in the final work.
I heard a plaque for Michael Ruffing's high-density storage should go
I
on.
agree, Melanie, you're right.
So I move that Exhibit 9 go to the full board for approval on Thursday.
Michael.
Mr. Carrion,
Yes.
Mr. Corrigan,
Yes.
and Mr. Parker.
Yes.
Exhibit 10 is a resolution selecting and ranking the most qualified architecture firms and authorizing negotiating an agreement with the top ranked firms for the main library and Lewiston Wings fire alarm systems. And we had a selection committee recommend 2, and we authorized the director to enter into negotiations with an agreement with Tech Inc. as in accordance with the Ohio Revised Code.
This will be a design build project, which I think, to my knowledge, will be the first time the library's done design build since I've been here. I didn't see any records in the past, which is one of the, again, per Ohio Revised Codes, that's one of the project execution method that a building owner can select. In this case, what we do is hire a criteria engineer architect to develop not the full design, but the criteria documents, the overarching parameters of the project. And then that's turned over to a design build team, which is selected by best value process. So this is the kind of the initial stage to select the criteria architect engineer to develop our criteria documents. That will be the basis of soliciting qualifications and cost proposals from a design build team. Then we'll be back to board, hopefully later this year, early 2025 with that selection. So this was budgeted as criteria design in 2024, construction to start in 2025.
And Tech Inc. is the successor to some previous group that we've used, correct?
We're working with Tech on the MLK project, and they've done work with the library. I don't know what their corporate history is though before
Okay.
that.
I knew we've used it before, so I was trying to remember. So MLK was where? Okay.
We did have, now this one, I was a little disappointed. We had a better turnout at the walkthrough, and then we only got, these are the only 2 qualifications we received, both very competent firms. So I'm really solid with the recommendation. But some of the feedback we got from the firms who did the walkthrough but didn't submit qualifications is that they would rather participate on the design build team, which would be a much larger contract, than as the criteria engineer, which is what we're selecting now.
Move approval of Exhibit 10 to go to the full board on Thursday.
Second.
Mr. Carrion,
Yes.
Mr. Corrigan,
Yes.
and Mr. Parker.
Yes.
Exhibit 11 is a resolution entering into agreements and/or establish funding requests telecommunications services for E-rate funding in 2024, July 1st through June 30th, 2025.
So it's been 5 years since we brought this resolution before the board. This is for us to apply for telecommunication services only for our bandwidth circuits. We filed a 470 on January 22nd, 2024. And then began the 28 competitive bid process so we can enter into a contract as early as February 19th. And this is, like I said, for our bandwidth circuits. There's 29 of them from our branches to the SOC in Columbus.
Move approval to go to the full board on Thursday,
Second.
Exhibit 11.
Ms. Shakarian,
Yes.
Mr. Corrigan,
Yes.
and Mr. Parker.
Yes.
And finally, Exhibit 12 is the second amendment to the year 2024 appropriation. This is a boilerplate continuing thing we do every month. Any particularly significant
So this will
changes?
appropriate all the grants that were just brought before you in the Founders Fund, in the Tech Centers Fund for the Best Buy Teen Tech Center, in the Early Literacy Fund for the United Way grant, and then in our capital projects funds for the Lewis Stokes Wing Staff Break Room and the MLK project budget increase.
Okay. Move approval that should go to the full board on Thursday.
Thank you.
Ms. Shakarian,
Yes.
Mr. Corrigan,
Yes.
and Mr. Parker.
Yes.
That
That concludes Finance Committee. I'm sorry, I should have said that.
Trustee Shakarian will be reviewing the Human Resource Committee report.
So Exhibit 13 is the regular employment report of new hires, promotions, transfers, resignations, terminations. Lynn?
She's smiling.
It has all that plus a little more. It also has the compensation report in there, and the reason it is so lengthy is this incorporates all of the SEIU and Local 860 contract raises that were effective 1/1 of 24.
Okay.
I move for approval.
Second. Second.
Thank you. Ms. Butts?
Second,
Mr.
yes.
Corrigan,
Yes.
and Mr. Parker.
Yes.
The next Exhibit 14 is a resolution to enter into an agreement with ERC Services for human resources training sessions and annual employee engagement survey. Whereas the library is committed to maintaining a work environment that is free of harassment based on race, color, ancestry, religion, national origin, citizenship, sex, pregnancy, gender identity, sexual orientation, age, veteran or military status, disability, genetic information, or any other characteristic protected by federal, state, or local law. It exceeds it. The library's Human Resources Manual Policy numbers 460 and 480 address equal employment discrimination and harassment, civility, and bullying, and applies to all employees, including non-supervisory personnel, supervisors, managers, and executives. And whereas the Human Resources Department believes it is beneficial and a best practice for an employer to conduct periodic human resources training for managers and staff in order to educate library staff members about library policy and the need to maintain a respectful and civil workplace free of discrimination, harassment, and bullying. And the Human Resources Department solicited proposals from ERC Services as well as female-owned business enterprise for management training. And the Human Resources Department determined that ERC Services was the best suited partner due to the preferred training topics based on the survey of CPL managers, its partnership with the law firm of Kastner, Westman, and Wilkins, and the library's past practices working with ERC on other training initiatives and employee surveys, thus making ERC Services uniquely qualified to provide these services to the library. And whereas ERC submitted proposals to the library to provide in-person training sessions on various management topics, such as generating results on holding others accountable and navigating difficult conversations, unconscious bias training for all employees, and harassment prevention training for new employees, as well as to administer the library's annual employee engagement survey. Services are summarized in the exhibit. Questions for Lynn?
I'll just add a couple of comments. Just as a reminder, ERC, or Employers Resources, is a employer association for Northeast Ohio. So it's really like a member organization, like say an ALA is. So its membership and diversity is as broad as Ohio employers or Northeast Ohio employers. The box on the resolution just goes into a little bit more detail on the specific types of training. The first two, the generating results and navigating difficult conversations, that'll be management only training. Those two topics were selected based on a survey conducted by management staff. Unconscious bias, we're doing in collaboration with the DEI department. All staff will get unconscious bias training conducted by Kastner, Westman, and Wilkins.
You say all staff referring to everybody who works for us?
It's budgeted for 750 people, yes.
Wow.
So it'll take most of 24 to get all staff through this in-person training. And harassment prevention, we implemented this year, so 2024, all new employees joining us will get it, and then we have a couple stragglers for 23. So that's a modest amount. And then lastly, the employee engagement survey was last done in 22. And so we've decided we're gonna do that every other year, so we will conduct that in late summer to early fall of this year.
Does this also comply with any requirements our insurance carrier has, for instance, or other risk management sort of like discounts that they may provide? Just knowing that we've done this is often important to our insurance carrier.
I would say the discrimination and harassment prevention we did in 2023 is a very important training with which to document and
Yeah.
probably assist us. I'm not sure unconscious bias probably falls in that category, but
Probably not as much. Our EPLI carrier is, that's our employment practices, on liability insurance. They're most concerned with the discrimination.
Okay.
any other
I'm-
questions?
I move for the exhibit to be forwarded to our board meeting Thursday.
Second,
Ms. Butts?
Yes.
Mr. Corrigan?
yes.
And Mr. Parker?
Yes.
Exhibit 15 is a resolution authorizing wage increases for substitutes and pages. The non-bargaining unit pay structure and revised section 351 of the Human Resources Manual that this board adopted on July 6, 2021 did not provide for annual wage increases for substitutes and pages. And substitutes and pages play a vital role within the Cleveland Public Library. And in recognition of their hard work, the library administration would like to extend a wage increase of 2 2.5% to all substitutes and pages, including pages with the page 1, page 2, and part-time regular classifications who were employed by the library on or before September 1st, 2023, and who have had no discipline after July 1st, 2023, effective the beginning of the pay period that includes March 11th, 2024. Questions from members?
What does that bring the lowest hourly rate to?
This, we are keeping the new higher rates. So new page ones that come in will remain at 13, new page twos that come in will remain at 15. So this is more like an across the board for existing pages. It's that 2.5%. We're keeping the starting wages at the same.
I move that the exhibit be forwarded to our full board meeting.
Second,
Ms. Butts?
Yes.
Mr. Corrigan?
yes.
And Mr. Parker?
Yes.
Exhibit 16, resolution to amend the Human Resources Manual pursuant to Section 123.1 of the Human Resources Manual. The Board of Library Trustees must approve all changes to the Human Resources Manual, and the library's Human Resources Department is in the process of conducting a comprehensive review and revision of the Human Resources Manual to reflect the prevailing practices in today's workplaces. And the library's Human Resources Department recommends that the Human Resources Manual be revised to include several updated sections, rescind other sections, and add one new section, as summarized in the table within the exhibit. Any questions? Lynn, comments?
So I'll go through this one real quickly. In short, that comment above about, it's the never-ending comprehensive review. It's almost done, guys. Now we are at the introductory section, so the section 100 is what I focused on over the last couple of weeks. So you will see updating policy 111, which just identifies the library strategic framework, 112 and 113, just updating the language on the organization of the library, which includes how it is funded, an overview of the function of the HR department. 120, we are adding, which officially moves the dissemination of the manual from a copied 3-ring punched binder in every department to online. Very excited about that. Now it's official if you guys approve this. Rescinding 122, 123, and 124. Again, those are just kind of rolled up into the previous ones. Section 220, which is the employment practices section of the manual, we are suggesting revising 220. This is after a lot of conversation and consultation with especially public services and HR. This requires all new employees to be with the library for 90 days before applying for promotional opportunities. What has happened with these hiring boards is that we have pages and subs that literally come in and oftentimes are in a position for 4 weeks before they're moving on. So we want a little bit more stability. So we're putting a 90-day period in effect there. 236, we're proposing rescinding because advancement within the library is now rolled up into 220. Rescinding 354 and replacing policy 411. Again, this is kind of a roll-up. We are including employee-only areas, storage, and first aid with 3 former policy called staff quarters. Sounds a little militaristic to me. Lockers and first aid.
Gotcha.
I move that this exhibit be forwarded to our full board meeting on Thursday.
Second.
Ms. Butts?
Yes.
Mr. Corrigan?
Yes.
And Mr. Parker?
Yes.
And that concludes the Human Resources Committee.
Thank you so much. At this time, I call the Joint Finance and Human Resource Committee meeting adjourned.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, Jasmine,
Jasmine? Huh?
were you here to speak on Best Buy?
Yeah.
Oh.
Right,
oh.
I did.
If you had any questions, I was here.
If anybody has any questions about Best Buy,
No, I
Jasmine
made that comment.
could certainly answer it. I kind of look and I was like, I should have probably let Jasmine say something about Best Buy, but that's my bad, so.
Here if you have any questions.
Thank you.
No, that says a lot for you and for the work that you're doing over there, that they keep renewing and,
It's
you know,
really good.
improving.
Yeah.